Give me 8 minutes and I'll show you empathy is actually a superpower. We must define empathy first. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feeling of others. However, most of us look at empathy as a weakness or something others can use against us or take advantage of. However, this is the incorrect perception of empathy. And I'll ensure by the end of this video that you see empathy as a superpower instead of a weakness. So, we must change the way that we see empathy. An individual who operates from a lower consciousness heavily identifies with their ego and sees the world from a lens of me versus others. And when individuals try to inflict negativity on them, whether it be through insult or physical harm, they are then triggered and try to replicate the other individual's behavior. Rightfully so, because our egos are designed to protect us. And I give you an example of, if you go to an animal and you try to pet it, a wild animal, or you try to kill it, or you try to tame it of some sort, the animal will try its best to ward you off, right? It'll try its best to ensure that you don't get close to it. Why? Because that's its survival instinct. It's trying to survive, and your ego plays that role in your life, right? But individuals who operate from this lower consciousness often allow others' behavior to make them act in the same way the other individual did. Example, when somebody cuts you off in traffic, they cut you off and you get angered and you toss them off. Is that what it's called? And you flick up the finger? Flick up the finger and you swear at them. It's like, now you've just sunk to their level. Or when somebody cuts you in line of a place that you've been waiting in line for a while, and you're like, hey, excuse me, and then you start to act exactly as that other individual wanted you to act. But an individual from a higher consciousness sees the world and perceives the world differently. He doesn't perceive the world as a me versus you. He has a deeper understanding of the place in which others operate from. And I'll give you an example. An individual who is of a higher consciousness understands that everybody in life are overgrown children walking around with childhood trauma. And this is a divine understanding to understand that every other individual has a life equally as complex as yours. It's one of my favorite words in the dictionary. Sonda. Every human that you walk past has a life equally as intricate and complicated as yours. An individual who comes from a higher consciousness understands that most people are overgrown children walking around with childhood trauma. Right? And as they go about life and they just generational trauma. In fact, they're just simply trying to figure life out. And oftentimes, the way that they behave comes from this place. Or the action that they do comes from this place. But when you interpret their actions as something negative and you feel as if you need to fight back, then you've lost the game of life. And there's no element of empathy there. And the way the high consciousness individual uses empathy as a superpower is, he has this divine understanding that most people in life are just going through exactly what it is that you're going through. So, an individual who is of a high consciousness has a lot of patience with people because they're able to empathize with their struggles, knowing that the way a person acts is a reflection of their internal struggles. They realize everyone is dealing with their own personal battles of coping with childhood and generational trauma. Therefore, you are able to read people extremely well and see the reasons behind their actions. But this requires an element of empathy. You must be willing to empathize with the individual who has the intention to inflict negativity onto you. Example, let's say you have a colleague and then you know this colleague is just naturally a shit cunt, right? Forgive me, YouTube, for my language. You know they're just grumpy individual. And they'll always do petty little things to try and insult you, insult your intelligence, or some sort of anger onto you. Your ability to empathize comes from your ability to realize where it comes from. As within, so without. This individual feels negativity within, right? Therefore, he can only project onto the world that which he feels inside, right? So if you can understand it like that, then you can see the realm in which he's behaving from. And then you can empathize with him. Oh, what a miskin. Yeah, I know my Canadians love that. Miskin, you know what miskin is? It's like a poor person. Like, you pity that individual. Like, what a miskin, he's going through a lot. Therefore, he wishes to inflict negativity onto the world. I am of a higher consciousness, so I will not act petty back to him or allow his intention to insult me. Because I am higher than that. I'm above that. I'm superior to that. Because you are. You are. If you can understand your abuser's intentions and sympathize with their misery, then you sort of avoid feeling negativity or anger from their actions. Because when you feel negativity and anger, the only person that hurts is you. You, the individual who is feeling that negative emotion. Others do not inherit your anger. Sorry, not inherit. Others do not absorb your anger or experience the same anger. The other person doesn't get poisoned from the anger in which you feel, only you do. So your ability to avoid that makes you an individual of a higher consciousness. And when your ability to empathize with others and understand that their intentions to inflict negative experiences or insult your intelligence or trying to inflict harm only comes from a place of them feeling negative internally, brother, you master half of life. Who could get to you? Who could offend you? You're thinking in 5D. A reason for you to adopt empathy and see it as a superpower, it comes from your understanding that outside the third dimensions, there's no dualism, right? I know a lot of spiritual people like to talk about, as above, so below, as without. There's outside of third dimensions, it's all divinity. It's all one. So how you treat others, how you treat yourself. So when you're able to empathize with others' struggles and see that they're trying and doing best in their life, and sometimes they have a difficulty navigating their own emotions without accepting or taking shit from others. You're able to operate from a higher consciousness. Obviously, you want to check people for their behavior if it doesn't align with the way you feel as if you should be treated. But don't be treating people equally as they treat you, because then you're operating on their level of consciousness. You have dropped to their level. And you don't want to do that. You're above that. But empathizing with others is superior way to ensure that you aren't inflicted with the negative emotions they have the intention to inflict you on. And you understand where it comes from. It comes from a place of their own self-hate, their own self-pity, their own self-loathing. So operate from that realm of having this understanding, and you'll be free. You'll be freed from being inflicted on whatever it is they wish to inflict onto you. So your empathy is a superpower. And it comes from the understanding that the way people behave doesn't particularly come from you or your experience, but the combined things that are going on in their life, in addition to whatever it is, the encounter or the interaction is. Most times, especially at work environments, people who wish to treat you negatively or bring negative emotion onto you, it comes from outside. It comes from something happening at home or an environment outside your workplace. And they simply channel that energy into the workplace because they don't know how to deal with their own emotions. Your ability to empathize with this makes you superior, and of a higher consciousness. So when you understand this, when you have this understanding, you become a very intellectual, divine, high consciousness individual. You must see empathy as a superpower. It is your superpower. Your superpower of avoiding negative emotions and not allowing others to inflict negativity onto you. Thank you guys for watching. It's been your work KPOV. Share with a friend. Comment, like, subscribe. Catch you in the next video.